And it depends on who's throwing him the ball, I guess. He's got to keep track of that. The hot topic right now throughout Bronco Nation is this dual quarterback system that Andy Avalos and Bush Hampton are deciding to use going forward. And Brady, at times, yeah, it didn't feel completely in rhythm last week, but if you add up the numbers at the end of it, it actually seemed to work.
Yeah, it's really unique, and it seems like it's been working mainly because the two quarterbacks are making it work. They're working together. After the success they found last week, the duo was ready to keep growing in their unique offensive system. Despite competing with each other for more opportunities out in the field, the underclassmen QBs have not lost sight of the most important thing. That's helping the team win whatever it takes. We talked with Green and Madsen after this week's practice. They've both embraced the opportunity to push each other to be better. They even have a special celebration they do when one of them scores a touchdown.
You know, he's definitely one of the bigger leaders on our team, and he's shown that by this reaction. I mean, I love it. Like, his support for me and my support for him, it's one of those things that just rubs off on each other, and I think the whole team's starting to see that as we came together in that second half. I've never really experienced, like, switching out of games like that, but working together, it's something that, like, our relationship has definitely come to being fun with each other like that.
Just bringing that energy, you know, when Maddux scores and stuff. We now have like a handshake, just jumping and everything. So it definitely gives an opportunity, you know, to just make the most of every single opportunity. But at the same time, like when you're not in, being that leader, just being that energy giver, you know. Av talks about, you know, setting the temperature, not being like too like quiet. That's definitely it's definitely a great opportunity to do that, and I'm definitely, you know, grateful, you know, just doing wherever it takes to get the win at the end of the day.
Setting the temperature, meaning Avalos wants him to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. React, don't be reactionary. Either way, I could use Taylen to turn up the thermostat here in Fort Collins as we are hovering right around freezing. Looking at their combined stat line from a week ago, between Maddux and Taylen, 13 of 24 for 230 yards. They totaled up 5 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, 2 through the air. Like I said, you'll take that combined production. As these guys progress right before our very eyes, it's also easy to forget that Madsen is a redshirt freshman and Taylen Green is a redshirt sophomore. The absence of an upperclassman in the quarterback room is notable, in my opinion. And earlier this week on Jay's Sports Bar, legendary wide receiver Shane Williams-Rhodes joined me to talk about that very subject.
One other thing that I wanted to ask you is the lack of a senior or an upperclassman in that quarterback room. Because I do think that that is something that we can overlook, and I do think that there's a significant impact on that. I think it's going to be hard to achieve in the current climate of college football, because if you do have an upperclassman at quarterback, it's going to be very hard to recruit a young and talented quarterback that wants to play early in his career. I think that's just going to be the challenges you face right now with the freedom of the transfer portal. Because even if you do get him here, and he's like, I don't want to wait 2 more years to start, I'm going to hit the transfer portal and go somewhere else and play.
Yeah.
But you look back, and, I mean, you played with Grant Hedrick. He became the most accurate passer in the history of the Boise State football program. Yes, more accurate than Kellen Moore. Mm-hmm. He set the career completion percentage record over Kellen Moore, right? But I bring up Kellen because Grant got to sit in that quarterback room and just marinate for years watching Kellen Moore do what he did. Kellen Moore had some guy named Bush Hampton that he got to see how it was done, right?
Yep.
And right now you literally don't have anybody that's older than a sophomore in that quarterback room.
Yeah, and that's tough because, like you said, even like Grant was able to literally go in the game, pull Kellen out, run a few plays, and come back out, and then Kellen goes back in. So, like, he actually got to play with Kellen. He got to learn from him for 2 years in the quarterback room. I mean, you go down the list. You had Finley, who got to watch Grant, and then Brett. Brett got to learn from him. And
yeah, there has almost always been just that older presence. And whether they have had success on the field or not, I think that it adds value to that quarterback room. And
for sure,
I just think it's different at times when you hear stuff from your coach and when you hear from somebody that is similar in age to you, that you respect because he has a little more experience than you and can really relate to you, whether it be in football or in life.
Most of football players, just in general, were visual learners.
So when you got here, who was that guy for you?
The guy that I actually because it was kind of the guy that I was brought to replace his role, which a lot of people forget about this guy. I don't know how, but Chris Potter, man.
Dude, I saw Chris at the game this last week.
Yes.
He's doing great. He looks great.
Yeah, man. Chris Potter was the guy for me who I watched because, I got here. He was the guy, was the smaller guy. He did all the quick things. He was the punt returner.
Yep.
So it was like, okay, Chris is a senior. You're a freshman. All these plays that he had, this is where we're going to eventually fill you in at. So just kind of learn from that guy. So I got to watch someone. I didn't do punt return my first year. Chris was the punt returner, him and Mitch Burrows. So I got to watch those two do it. I got to learn. Even though they had me doing punt return our freshman year, I never got to do it in a game. But in practice, it was those two would go, and I was the next one. So basically, Pete was, getting me ready because that is a wild place to be, is back there on punt return. But kick return, obviously me and Jay just got to do that as freshmen. But I sat behind Potter, and I got a few of his plays from him so I could run them. But I think the biggest tip that I took away from Chris was, no disrespect here, Potter. Chris wasn't fast, but he was smart and he was quick.
Yeah.
And so watching him, how he ran his routes, and it was, what he did is he used a lot of tempo because he wasn't super, super fast. What he did is he would tempo his routes sometimes to go maybe 75%. And so he's running and you're just trying to stay with him. And then he would just hit 100 like now. And then he did it at the top of the routes or, halfway through. So now he's gotten you to slow your feet down, and then he takes off, and now he's created separation from him changing speed, and now you have to react. And then you're reacting, and now he's changed direction, and he was really good at route running.
Remember, you can catch Jay Sports Bar every Wednesday. Watch it on YouTube or listen on Apple Podcasts.